I think this is day 7 of Whole30, my first 7 days. So I think there's some progress, getting more into the groove. Me focusing on my plantains and potato chips is my low-key sugar thing, because the sugar withdrawal is a real thing, but I'm not having like the deep sugar withdrawal because I think I'm getting my carb sugars out of the plantains a lot, but I'm rationing. So this whole idea of the one plantain per meal versus endless plantain chips, and I could be making a batch of 4 plantains and eat all the plantain chips. So this I made 1 plantain this morning, and I did a big baking sheet of thinner slices, and these are all the all the plantains that came out of it. See? I don't think I'm gonna be able to eat all this. You see, this is a lot. So I might even only eat half. And the last time I did this, when I seasoned them, I didn't eat them all in one sitting either. So I think I probably might go through half of it. I already had breakfast. I got this crunch thing down. This one has a little bit of softness and a crunch, but I got the crunch I want without burning them. Look how beautiful these are. So an idea that came up to me was at one point I had a Chips Ahoy addiction, in the sense that the not the Chips Ahoy, it was the Pillsbury Doughboy cookie dough, where you chop it up in slices and put it in the oven, and then you got fresh baked cookies. Okay, I used to eat those so much that it was a regular staple in my groceries. Like, if you had to go replenish your groceries and you needed to get milk, bread, butter, and the cookie dough came with it. It was like, you're out, you gotta restock. I always had it stocked in my fridge. And one day, and this is like during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? This is dangerous. I can get as much cookie dough, just stock up and stock up and stock up, and sit and eat my cookies, be in my feelings and eat cookies. I was doing like a 6 cookie a day ration as like a dessert after lunch or dinner. It's like, okay, you can make yourself 6 cookies from the cookie dough after every meal, lunch or dinner or a snack. 6 cookies at a time. Still way too much. That's still half a dozen. Still way too much. So one day during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? This has to stop. I know you love your cookies. I know your favorite cookie is chocolate chip cookies. But if you're going to sin all the way, and that means you're going to make the best chocolate chip cookie ever from scratch. So you can no longer buy these. You have to make the cookie from scratch if you want chocolate chip cookies. You can no longer buy pre-made chocolate chip cookies. They're disappointing anyway. Usually they're not as good as the fresh baked anyway. And so no need to test, no need to waste your money on pre-made chocolate chip cookies that are going to be meh, so no more. And the Pillsbury Doughboy cookies, those are great, but you could probably do better if you make it from scratch. So that's what I decided to do. I decided that I was going to make my cookies from scratch. And when I did, I looked up some recipes, because I like my cookies very buttery versus very sweet. And so I looked up recipes that were strictly like very butter. It had like a really great buttery base, and I go particular about their butters. and I found a good recipe, and then I started to tweak it. I tried it, it was good, and then I started adjusting it, like changing up the chocolate chips, changing up the butters, changing up the salts, changing up the sugars. So, using an organic white sugar versus the whatever Kirkland brand or whatever brand they were talking about. I like my chocolate chips more on the dark chocolates, bitter sweet, more a heavier percentage of cacao. So I found like a super dark chocolate to put into my cookies. Anyway, cookies were fantastic. The batches were so big, I was giving the cookies away to my family and friends, and I had to freeze a batch. But now that's the only way I do cookies, chocolate chip cookies, that is. If I want a chocolate chip cookie, I gotta make it from scratch. And I have been living that rule for the last 4+ years now. And I have not missed a store brand cookie. I have not missed the Pillsbury Doughboy cookie. As a matter of fact, I think at one point I tried to go back to the Pillsbury Doughboy cookie just to taste it, and it was like meh to me. I'm like, oh, these are okay. They're not nearly as good as the ones I make now. So, but the silver lining to that was it slowed me down on my cookie eating, because once I knew I had to make cookies, I wasn't really that motivated to eat cookies. I knew it was going to take longer. It was a process. I had to make sure all my ingredients were there. Sometimes I don't have all the ingredients to make the cookies, so it's a real commitment, and it just slowed down my need for the cookies. So a new thought just came to me this morning, like, well, if I was able to, for example, get rid of soda, but still I love the bubbly, so I do flavored seltzer water. And, seltzer water with a little lemon or lime, or, you know, something like that. I can do that and still have my fizzy, bubbly experience, but not with the bad stuff in the soda. Then I swapped out my store-bought cookie for a homemade cookie. Could I swap out my tortilla chip for a homemade tortilla chip? That's big. My nachos are my thing. Nachos are my thing. It's a good way to break the cycle, though, because I have made homemade nachos, and homemade nachos are so much better. Homemade nachos are homemade tortilla chips are so much better than anything you buy in the store. And it kind of gives you that restaurant style vibe. And I love restaurant tortilla chips. And I know how to make those. All you do is take the little corn tortillas, the flat ones, the little, I like to get the roadside taco truck, the little roadside taco truck corn tortillas. They come in like a big thick pack of like 100. You just chop them make 2 chops, like a quad, and you have 4 chips per round, and now you have 400 chips. I'm not saying I'm eating 400 chips, obviously. I'm not a glutton, but I'm just saying you will have an abundance of tortilla chips to make when you're ready to fry them. So I could challenge myself to say, well, how many tacos do you really eat? Usually in a restaurant, they give you about 3 tacos at a time. I don't think I can get as minimalist to 12 chips. Come on now. Nachos, you're going to have the abundance of chips, but I can look at something reasonable and figure out, well, how many tortillas am I willing to eat to make my nachos? How many that I'm willing to fry up? So yeah, I think if I do something like that, that will slow down my nacho eating. If I make a rule that either I gotta go to, because I'm gonna still love going to a Mexican restaurant and probably having nachos. So either I have to go to a sit down restaurant, sit down and order nachos and eat them. Not like go and get it to go, because that still causes problems. But like sit down, you're doing that in community. It's kind of like with drinking. I don't sit at home drinking by myself. I usually go drink in social settings. Every once in a while, I might have a drink, but it's very seldom that I drink by myself. I made a code to myself a long time ago that if I'm at home drinking by myself, then there's a problem, because that can lead to a downward spiral of a really bad habit. So I see drinking as more of a social thing, and like to do with people versus to do alone. And so maybe I can kind of treat my nachos as like a dining with people, dining in dining experience if I'm going to buy some nachos outside in the world. But when it comes to me making them for myself, like no more fast food nachos. No more, no more. I'm like, I'll make them myself, but I'm making them with like the store tortilla chips and the store salsa and the store this and the store that. But I could possibly make everything from scratch. The guac. I still like my Tostito salsa, so that's still like my favorite. The hot Tostito salsa is still like my favorite salsa. I don't care. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just salsa. But like when it comes to making a nacho cheese, the runny cheese, maybe learning how to make that and make it from better ingredients, like the queso, making the queso. No more going to Chipotle and getting their queso. No more of that. Making the tortilla chips, making the guacamole, and just like really making it a real experience, a real high quality ingredient experience. And I know that since that takes work, it's gonna slow my ass down on that. And I know the elephant room. What about the potato chips? What about the plantain chips? So I think I can let go of plantain chips and like buying them in store. I like this idea that I've been doing where I'm making them. I get to control the quality of the oil. I can control how many I'm making and how much I'm consuming. So I can do this. I can easily do this as a good way to slow things down. And then I was contemplating potato chips. I don't really eat potato chips that much anyway, but every once in a while I will want some potato chips. And my favorite are actually these Ethiopian potato chips that you get in the Ethiopian restaurant. I don't know if any of y'all have had them, but some Ethiopian restaurants have these like really beautiful, big, round, the chips sometimes about this big, just like, they use them huge potatoes, then they have like a spiced rim around it. So maybe, I don't know if they're rolling it in the skin and spice around the skin, but it's lightly seasoned with an Ethiopian spice. And it's not a lot of high heat, but it's just really flavorful. And I think I'm gonna go to like the Brundo's Spice Company restaurant. I think there's a restaurant. Shout out to I think it's Cafe Colucci, or I think they sell the Brundo Spice Company. Anyway, it's an Ethiopian spice brand, and I can probably get that and season my potatoes and make potato chips myself. And because I feel like if I'm gonna sin all the way, have high quality ingredients. So I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I think that's what I might end up doing, is making gourmet potato chips and gourmet plantain chips, and that's going to slow down the my cravings significantly, and still enjoy the stuff that I like to eat, but do it in a higher quality grade. Yep, so that's my rant for day 7.